Buenas noches. Boa noite. Boa noite. Good night. I forgot I planned to do this live in English. So I see that there is some audience already. Please leave a thumbs up just to know the audio is working as expected and doesn't have any surprises, because sometimes I'm here talking and then someone say, "Hey, you are on mute." Let's see. John Nicolek, let me know if you guys are hearing, but I'm sure it is. So I will give a few minutes before, just to wait some people to join. Every time I wait a few minutes, I can get in the mood and wait for the people who are clicking in the notifications. I'm drinking a chimarrão. I don't know where you guys from, but here in the south of Brazil we have chimarrão. It's erba mate with hot water. And today, I'm very excited to share things I'm doing, and actually not what I'm doing, because it is exciting as well, but how I'm doing. I'm using agents, LLMs, to help me with a whole different approach. Not a whole different, but it's a more structured way to code, to use AI to help you instead of just vibe coding. When you keep by giving prompts and feedback, prompt feedback, prompt feedback, and when you have derived from your original goal and it is in a whole different place, and you don't know if you turn back, or if undo the last steps, or if you start from scratch. Vibe coding is chaotic by nature, but doesn't have to be this way, or at least can have the chaos without the pain of the unstructured architecture. Because in the end, we just need to care about the architecture. Code, the AI write the code, the agents write the code for us, but you need to keep track of everything. Okay, so a few minutes went by. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me see. Yeah, it's running. So I'm creating a project that is aimed to help onboard developers on Ethereum. Today I will not talk much about the project, because it will have its own campaign, the narrative to explain by details and everything related to the project, but we will walk through some parts of the code. So I need to share a bit of context, and it's basically a toolbox of Polkadot tools for Ethereum developers, and in a way that they abstract the complexity of needing to understand how everything works on Polkadot, parachains, etc. So we will abstract some templates, and also providing some front-end templates to help these developers to have a scaffold, to build the templates, while having contracts to deploy the contracts, while having the ability to use Polkadot Cloud, so they can host websites using parachain services. They can run cloud functions if they have a backend. The the possibilities are kind of endless, because Polkadot is being built in a very fast paced. So tomorrow we probably will have a whole new service related to the development of Polkadot Cloud. But today, these are the tools that matters for Ethereum developers. It's to host your website and have access to running a local fork of the network. So we will be running Polka VM, which is the VM who has the capability to handle Solidity contracts, Ink contracts, and soon Move contracts, or any other stack, because it is a RISC-V machine, virtual machine, so it can run basically all the instructions. And not more about the project, but how I am doing that, right? So we are building this toolbox, and we are using agents to help. But how are these agents working exactly? I discovered this BMed method a few minutes no, a few weeks ago, and I think 2 to 3 weeks. It's a method to help agents specialized on some aspect of agile development to, kind of narrow the knowledge that this agent requires to help you on that task. So while we are coding, we are in the end we are solving a problem, right? So we get a problem and we need to solve this problem, or we want to solve this problem, and code is part of the process, but we have to orchestrate this code, we have to document this code, we have to analyze the performance of this code. We have to make sure it doesn't breaks if its dependencies breaks. So there's all of these parts, and there is the whole workflow, how this all these pass this these parts fit together, and we have different specializations abilities for each part of that. So DevOps will care about the whole infrastructure of how these code bases are running, right? And in the end, the developer is the one who writes code. So my goal is to have a cloud code instance running inside a container that is completely blind about the documentation. Not completely blind, don't get me wrong, but it is a developer agent. He just write code. He doesn't need to think about architecture, because I am thinking about the architecture and using an architect to help me to write this, to search dependencies, to search approach, to research how the best way to structure things. And then we create this architect, and then we also have the product owner and a project manager to help us keep evolving this architecture, and we also have an UX agent who help us to keep this beautiful and easy to use by the users. So this whole architecture part is a separated side related to coding. So usually when we are vibe coding, we just, okay, I have this idea, I wanted to do this, and then we just start dumping and coding, and this approach I am sharing here today is kind of a more structured way. So it's not for building just an MVP, it's not just to creating a POC. Of course, you should use it for a very good POC, a very good MVP. But if you want to write a simple script or a very simple project, something that you do in a weekend, like a hackathon, you probably don't need to have all this structure inside the project, because this will just create bureaucracy that will slow you down. So all this that I'm going to share today is more related to ongoing development, and of course ongoing maintenance, because software requires maintenance, right? And vibe coded apps requires even more maintenance, because the code base, you don't know it very well, so it can be very messy, right? I'm gonna ping back to my YouTube. I see there is some audience. Please give a thumbs up, give a good night. I want to know if you guys are understanding so far. How is the pace? I need some feedback, because today I'm not just recording, and I don't feel myself alone here. I want to know from you guys if the pace it's okay, if you guys are understanding so far, because from now on I will start going more on the code and the rules we are writing for all these agents. All good, nice. So let's go. Who is there? Someone here who knows BMAT? Have heard about this method of agile agents or not? Nothing. I will assume nothing. Okay, I will assume you guys don't know. But if you already know, I hope to increase your understanding about this. But it's basic a way for you to have agents inside your cloud code sessions. Not just cloud code, because you can use on different environments. Let me see. I think his ambition is being Wait, here I am in my container. Let me change this. Right, so here if we require where you want to install, and it will show. I will not go into very low details about BMAD, just showing if someone is interested on that part of the project, just to share some context that there is a lot of different packages, let's say packages of agents, so there is a package of game developers, creative writing to create, characters for cartoons, etc. There's these different tracks, let's say DevOps, and we are going to talk about BMAD Agile Core. So I will stop this here, but you can initiate it in your project when you want. Let's start cloud. So what we have from different normal cloud code here is that if we type slash, we can see agents here. So we have the analyst, architect, BMAD, and every agent knows that it has some abilities, some tasks, that it can manage, and inside this task there is subtasks. Let's take an example. For example, the create doc. Here's that file is inside BMAD task. So inside that we have the BMAD core that is installed when we run the command, and then we have all the agent files here and a lot of requirements here. And I will focus on the overall idea, overall use. I'm not going to details of implementations here, but we can do it another time. So let's take, for example, the create doc. It has a lot of instructions on how it should create this doc. It's not just create a doc. Let's go through here one examples. Usually it works with YAML files, and then there is this elicit mode. Elicit is how these agents are instructed to retrieve information from me. So they are not just, I don't give a prompt and they start doing, because they don't have all the context. So they start to feed me questions back to understand more about what I am trying to do. So let's take, for example, I think we can go with the PM. Let's go with the PM, the project manager. It will show the abilities it has. I have appended, I created some new abilities, like the ability to manage GitHub issues, and it can fetch content from the GitHub to perform the actions we want. So for example, here is the actions it can perform. Create a brownfield PRD, create an epic, create a story. So usually the tasks that a PM can run, right? Let's take, for example, let me see. From this project, we are in that milestone. So I have also used these agents to create these milestones. So we have three milestones here. I call them epic, but they are very big. When I started, I got the epic on the agent PM. It started asking to implement it, to describe it, to then implement it. It said that it was too big and should be broken into small stories. But we are working on this one. Run local blockchains. So basically, when an Ethereum developer wants to build on Polkadot, it needs to run a node, right? And today it requires the dev to install POP-CLI, build POP-CLI, and then run the node. And it requires Rust. And I don't want the developer to need to know about it, because this project is to help developers who are in hackathons building stuff. So they need to go direct to the product phase. So this whole project I'm building is focused to create and build products. Don't require deep understanding about the infrastructure, because we have a lot of infrastructure developers. Now we need products, Web3 products. So going back to the abilities that this agent has, let's ask him to get the epic from the current state and start implementing. I thought to share the previous task I did with it, but I think if I go just too theoretical, you guys will not understand how all these pieces fit together. So let's start by getting one agent and starting to work with it, okay? And we are in the PM agent, and we need to keep working on the tasks. Let's come here on the agents, on the actually on the docs. We have asked to the QA to evaluate, to analyze the work from the developer in the last pull request. There is someone. Okay, stop. The developer opened at this pull request. The developer I created, the Brazilians here will recognize, is called Biruleibe. I was creating Biruleibe, but I didn't notice it was an error right there. And then when I tried to create, it said it's already in use, the Biruleibe one. So I went for Biruleibe. And it created this pull request implementing the Rust setup requirements. It was trying to understand the environment, see if it was on Linux, Mac, Windows, or WSL, you know, and then installing the Rust for that specific environment. And I already have reviewed the pull request. I got all this. I left these comments on the pull request, and then the developer fetched these comments using the GitHub CLI, because in the end, Cloud allow us to run CLI commands, you know, and I do a lot of things using CLI. For example, to manage GitHub issues or GitHub whatever, we can use GH to do everything we need. You know, pull information, create pull requests, create issues, manage milestones, do everything. So now I am connecting the BMAD Scrum Master agent. There's the Scrum Master, the project manager, and the product owner. I'm connecting these three through process inside the GitHub, because in the end, I want the developer running inside a container. So let me show you this part here. So here we have the container running the developer agent. It just knows development. I try to avoid using architect commands and other commands here, but it's still in development. You know, we can't leave all the responsibility yet. Still a lot of work to be done, but I'm just trying to figure out a way to have a container instance running Cloud Code that can pull issues from a board and execute the code and open pull requests, you know. And then for a while, I am reviewing these pull requests, but I expect to very soon to have at least a QA testing these pull requests and making sure everything is running as expected, including the UX and the updated documentation, because we have the architect who writes the documentation, keeps the documentation updated, and it writes here on the architecture folder. Let me show you. So everything is done through these files that are being created inside the docs folder, you know. So every agent has its required tree of context. For example, the analyst doesn't need to know how we are writing the code who initializes the project, but it should know how all pieces fit together, which files are responsible for which modules, what are the abstractions, what are the dependencies, you know. So when we ask the dev to do something, the dev already has this context about the code base. So we have different contexts that are specific for different agents. And I'm trying to split the context, not trying, the method suggests you to do it, right? So remember, we are using a method. I am using this method, and it has a guide here on how to expect things to work. I'm not always following, but I try to follow. Sometimes I do my own thing, because, you know, I'm just trying to make this work for me. But sometimes when I see that I am running against my own tail, I don't know if that's a valid expression, you know, but correndo atrás do rabo, or trying to do, and, you know, when things are not going as expected, I would love to have a good expression in English for amassando barro. It is when you are getting mud and trying to create a form, but in the end is mud, doesn't matter what you do with it. And this helps me to kind of avoid this path, and really going back to what I want to do, how is my architecture, and how this should be done, and the agents help me to go on this project, on this process. So it has some flows, usually I'm working here on the first. Here is there is some agents to help you brainstorm, structure your idea, etc. But I'm working on more on the second phase, where the development is already running code and it creates the story. Then I use the QA to evaluate the story. Then I use the PO to validate if here is even previously, it's before the development. Here's the Scrum Master. When I give the Scrum Master a to-do list, like it was on this Epic, it understood what I want to do, and then it started to break down into pieces and looking into the architecture and see where this would be on the architecture, this would be changed, and bringing this context and say, hey, this file, but and also creating the statements of things that should not happen, like when we should not change the workflow or change how the user is prompting. So there is some rules that must be followed, and the QA reviews if this draft is ready to be implemented, and then it creates the PO. We pass to the PO, who will really break down into an implementation plan. And then it goes to my approval, then I go give an approval, and then the developer pulls from GitHub and start implementing. So I think now I could explain how is the whole process. And here I have a simple list that I will just summarize again, and then we will get this Epic. Where is it? We will get this Epic and continues to build this Epic. Okay. So where is my resume, my summary? It's here. So we need to get the Epic from the GitHub. Then we generate the stories inside that Epic, and then the PO will validate these stories and see if they are the draft is okay. And then the developers goes to the implementation of that, and it changed, guys. It changed a lot how I do things, because when you are vibe coding, it's very easy to do things quickly, but when it is to maintain this code, because this project is an ongoing project. I'm not starting it today, and I didn't start it this week. I started like a month ago when I was in Berlin Web3 Summit. The project evolved and the architecture evolved, and today when I sit here to code, is way faster, is way faster than when I'm not using this approach. Because get you guys one script that you wrote 2 years ago or a few months ago, every time we are very often writing scripts, writing code that we're not using every day. Some cases yes, some cases don't, some subroutines. We have our tools, we are doing stuff. We are coders, and we write code. And every time we go back to a code, and then we need to maintain this code or reuse this code, when it's usually a tooling or something that is running and it breaks, you need to go back and fix that code. We take some, even if it's something very easy, at least I take some time to understand, to download my mental model from the day I wrote that code. So I started reading my own code and started remembering why I did the things I did, the dependencies, the problems, the business decisions involved, why I did the way I did, And it's basically context. I'm pulling context from that project. And when we need to do it I'm an indie hacker. So I use it to work with a lot of teammates, but now I'm building stuff, coding alone, without a team, until up to 2 to 3 months ago, I had a team. I had like a review, pull requests, I do stuff, but now I on my own. So I need to get a way to transit quickly between my code bases, because we have a lot of toolings, we have a lot of things on the Web3 dev that everyone, I know that this live is on my personal channel, but most of you guys know Web3Dev. We have 4 different code bases running this school, so we have articles, we have courses, we have bots, we have a lot of things, and sometimes things breaks and I need to fix them. And when I looked, I am like, oh my God, what I did, why I did this way, and I want to change, but no, I shouldn't fix this, do it now, just need to fix, And now with this approach, this is my first project that I'm using this approach. Since I'm doing this now, kind of, I can do a lot of other things, but when I go back to the project, I wrote, and the architecture is always being updated. So I just look at the architecture and I download way quicker what I was planning that day. So I just get on water and we can go to the implementation. Are you guys following me so far? Cool. So I have 2 instances here, right? One is the developer instance and the other is the manager instance, where I operate the other agents beyond just the developer. And this one is the one I wanted to just do developer things. Don't plan, don't write documentation, etc., etc. So we need to come here, open the PO, the project manager. We already opened it. Let me close these sessions. And I will say pool. Actually, I don't think it should go to the GitHub because we have this on the stories, right? Let's see how is this. All the stories is marked as done. So it doesn't have any known story that developer should act, because the developer initiates and looks for stories to code. So we need to create these stories, right? But there is also another context that is from this epic here. We need to continue from this epic, because remember on GitHub I showed 3 epics, but actually I made a mistake when creating the nomenclatures, because the epics on GitHub, they are like milestones, so they are very big. And this whole epic with its inside in stories is from that milestone, I hope this is not confusing. So we need to, we ask at the PM, let's see here their options and get the best option. So clarify ideas, elaborate idea, optimize timeline, rescope MVP, Git setup, create roadmap, correct course. No, create brownfield epic. Yeah, it creates a brownfield epic. No, creates a brownfield story, because this is an epic, right? So we will select the option 12. And then let's see if he will read all the content and realize that, okay, I need to go beyond that. And he will ask me what I should do, or look, what is specific enhancement or small fit you want to add? Looks like brownfield project, so I want to make sure what technology stack framework. Yeah, it doesn't realize that we have something to do. So on this case, if I doesn't had this file here that already says the epic goals, I would pull from my GitHub, so I would say, or pass the to-do list, because when we have our to-do list, I need to do this and that. Here is the PM is where we input these changes we want to do, right? So I will pass this and say, start by checking epic which story. Here we want to start by story 2 on this plan, because we already did the story 1. So we want to go now to the story 2, pop CLI 2 management installation. Let's see if we manage to do this live, because this is a whole new thing that I'm doing. like this method I'm using for 1 week or 2 week, and it's not something that, okay, you should do. That's why I'm showing how I am doing, not saying you guys should do it, because I'm also discovering. So, and while I am discovering this, I'm trying to split the logic, to have the developer split that from this whole logic, So let's see if we manage to do it, but we should count on the possibility that this go in a tangent and I can go back. Let's see. So we asked it to run the check on to prepare the story too, right? Ready for development, clear integration points. Okay, where the prompt starts. PopCLI, let's see if you notice that it does not create a story file here. So I still need to input to them, so it did the work, but I'm still in the process. So it is still waiting for my input. It's not the normal approach where you code, you give the prompt, and the AI does assume a lot of things and try to do. Here, our LLM is not assuming a lot of things. It is instructed in a whole lot of different places to don't assume things you don't know. It requires to ask us. So let's go. Yeah, it is still asking. I wanna actually ask to the PO instead of the PM. I think I'm doing this wrong. Let check to the method, because okay, PO validate stories is, oh, actually Scrum Master. We gotta go to the Scrum Master, not to the PM. So I did a mistake here. I shouldn't go to the PM. I should go to the Scrum Master. SM. Yeah. The Scrum Master is the one I use to close issues and pull requests, but I tend to use him more than I should. Okay, let's see what are the commands. Correct course, draft, execute story creation. Yeah, here, draft. Is to draft a story based on this story. So the nomenclature sounds a bit confusing, because create a draft from this draft, but remember that we have different agents talking to the other that doesn't know his previous work. So this pop CLI integration plan was the PO who did before, planning how would the main, how can I say, the main roadmap should go. It planned this way, and it knew that we should ask the responsible agent to create the draft. So now we need to say, hey, create the draft from this draft, because the first one was created as a draft, So it's very, can be very confusing. At least why I'm figuring this out. Maybe in future it will not be. Let's see. Neon. Thank you, Neon. It's basically understanding the requirements. Look, it's reading the PRD. So the PRD is our whole project description, and it's taking this as a context to write the plan. Instead of just writing. Yeah, this is the good part of vibe coding, right? We can just chill. Okay, story created. Draft validation. Okay, so now we see that we have a draft here. So as a Kita developer, I want a robust CLI installation system with multiple installation strategies and graceful handling. Tum, tum, tum. So look, it already takes into consideration the, but wait, here there is duplicated things. We already done that. Implement precompiled banner, we already done that. Installation progress. Yeah, this is not, this is buggy, as LLM usually are buggy, right? Platform detection is already done, and now we need this only. Let's see if it, actually, let's while we are reviewing, let's ask the PO to review this. So just for you guys to see the whole process. Okay. I think it's validate story draft. Here is the 8 option. Why we do it manually? Wait a second. I was hearing a very weird noise. So where was we? Enhancement task. Here the story. Here. Here it asking us to do implement a tech to identify Linux. These things are already done. It shouldn't be asking to do it again. Let's see if the PO will catch that. Right. Let's see, yeah, it's running, right? It will check a lot of different things. It will consult the architecture. It will consult the roadmap. It will check. It will cross a lot of different contexts to see if our goal is being achieved in the end, to write a plan for the developer, right? So just to go back here, the goal here is to create an environment where we can have an agent running independently inside a container, right? So I see a comment here on YouTube from Neon saying this is the most trash coding I ever seen, and I think part of me get sad and part of me gets very happy because this is the kind of content comment we get from people who see that what we are doing worth something, and now he needs to say at least that it doesn't work in his perspective, but we're not here building a product. We are here trying to build a process where we can have an agent totally independently running inside a container. This will take a whole lot more of iterations to get to that place. Our dev is still very dependent, but we will soon, I expect soon, to reach a part of the development process where the developer agents, just the developer agent, know the context of how to do things, and then it can just fetch, get things, issues from the GitHub and execute the code. So this is different. If you guys know something how to do it, not give a prompt to Lovable and poof, create a whole big project from scratch. We're talking about maintenance in an ongoing project without human supervision, so it will take time. Yeah, let me see if it compiled. Okay. Where's the P? Here's the PO or not? No, here's the story. Here is the PO. No hallucinations detected. Story validation here, compliant. Okay, detail structure. Dun, 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 dun. Go, story is ready for implementation. Permissive college. Oh, não pegou. It didn't catch. It didn't catch it. Zero critical issues blocking. Let's see again the story plan. Here. I see fail recovery. Let's see. Qual foi nessa aqui? Yeah. So it should have, that's why we keep a change log somewhere here. There is a change log here, UI architecture. No, not this, just this. I was sure there was a change log somewhere. Change here. Story. No, it's not. We have a change log where we try to keep track of recent stories, you know, and the PO should know about this, that it had a plan to implement something that was already built before. Let's see. Oh, detect duplicate installation. Should focus only pop CLI, yeah, precompiled binary download, cargo install, search compilation fallback to path management and pop CLI. So recommended actions. It shows us something, some actions we can ask him to do. Revise story, remove all duplicated, focus story, pop CLI on leveraging existing or a dependency. Requires. So it's asking us, this tree is kind of bullshit. Yeah, basically two. Let's see if how will be his plan after this. I expect to create an N8N node in the future that triggers this developer. So while this is running, let's go back here to our agent. And the plan is to have this process will always be manual, will be always me creating new iterations on this project and allowing the roadmap to evolve, etc. But my expectations is to do this from my machine, let's say, and pull this on push this on GitHub and have this container pulling this and starting implement, not exactly this container, but developers, you know, agents pulling and executing this. And I will probably I'm trying to do that on this container, like running cloud with C to continue the last conversation and then pass the prompt. But it's still not very good. It's still not good, you know, because sometimes it breaks in the middle. So I still need to figure out how to keep a current session of Cloud Code running with the specific agent initiated and running and receiving prompts, writing the code and executing on top of the changes that on the stories, and then also pushing this to the GitHub. So there's all these steps, you know. Most of them I have already figured out. The one I will just create an N8N workflow that is triggered every time a new commit is sent to any branch. It will recognize, and then I will create some fields, you know. That is, if it's Nomad Bitcoin username, my GitHub username, creating that, then it will pull in the agent. Otherwise, we'll just skip. So there is some ways to, you know, to trigger the pull request will trigger the N8N workflow, and then N8N workflow will trigger the developer container via webhook as well. Let's come back here. Okay, final assessment, ready for implementation. Let's see. I have a reliable pop CLI installation system. Yeah, now it's going straight to the pop CLI. Acceptance criteria. Pop CLI installer must leverage the platform. Precompiled binaries, cargo install, search compilation, installation must utilize existing Rust installation. Yeah, let me see here. We had a whole plan on how to do this. I think it was from here, because it's not a simple task. It's not a simple task. I will show you why. We have another instance. It took some research. That is this instance here. So I got the pop CLI code base, because for those who doesn't know, pop CLI we use with pop CLI, we can run a blockchain, a Polka VM node locally to simulate an environment of Asset Hub to deploy contracts. And it has a lot of other tools to write contracts, ink, and run parachains, do a lot of things, but we don't care about these things, right? We just want the Polka VM to allow developers from hackathons to very quickly start a local chain. So I download their code base, brought my agents here to read this architecture, understand which pieces are important for what I want to do. And I was basically debugging, navigating their code base, trying to understand what was the necessary things from these pop chains specifically. So what I did was I got my architecture from my project, and then after understanding the architecture of pop CLI, I asked the architect agent, having the context from both projects, to propose a plan of implementation of pop CLI inside our project, because we don't want to recreate pop CLI from scratch. We want to just download the required dependencies and run for our developers, and download the latest. We don't want to keep track of versions of CLI. We want to just download what we need and run for the developers. So it created this whole plan of how it could be doing, how this could be done. Let me see, proto, open terminal. And I think it's important for us to go to the Scrum Master again, Kel is the CM, and bring this context now and say, hey, check this implementation plan and let's do it. Then we can move to the developer. Are you guys with me? Send a thumbs up on the comments while it runs. Okay. Correct course, draft, execute story checklist. Yeah. You ask to run a story checklist and make sure the implementation plan is according to here architect plan. Let's see. I have no idea if someone is with me here. It doesn't matter. Here we had selected the wrong agent, right? I don't, which one? I was the PM. Yeah, let me close this. Let me close this. While we have this plan running. Okay. You know, so now we ask him to check and look a lot of gaps. Node command is one, platform detection. Missing, yeah, it is recognizing this missing sequence because when we created the first one, we noticed that the pop CLI, so it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and we realized that the integration part would be a whole project by itself. So I skipped and then created the project I just showed, right? Understanding the architect of pop CLI, understanding my architecture and how they fit. So it was a whole project inside stories, you know, that's why there is this gap. And align technical details, create star. So here's the options, right? The current integration, node implementation phase, yeah, let's go by the one. It will recreate the story again following this plan. I think in the end, it's very easy for you to get lost in these documentations. While when sometimes we are writing code and then we are doing something that, oh my God, just in the end you realize you shouldn't have done in the first place. And this still happen when we are using agents because I'm just now using natural language. I feel myself coding using natural language, you know. That's at least what I want to do, you know. This whole life, this whole project, this whole everything is just because I want to build stuff using natural language. But LLMs are unpredictable and we need to provide the proper context for it, but you know how to do it, how to split the responsibility for each agent. So I'm still learning. Okay. I think from this now we are moving to developer. Wait. Yeah. Let's see if it's assuming PopCLI is already installed, because this message says it's thinking that is already installed, but it's not yet. Let's see. Ready. 1.3. Wait. Yeah, now it's at SDK initialization, must integrate to installation prompt. After to installation prompt, leverage existing detection story, story 1.2. I don't know why it's assuming 1.2 is a good thing. I think I'll just delete this. Yes, existing detection rules, add prompt for default tools, implement installation prompts. Yeah, now it seems like the feasible plan, which is to remember from the issue here. Where's the issue? Here, embed CLI. It's basically the past story was detecting, it was detecting Rust. Why this is still open? It shouldn't be open. Oh, I see now. I see now. I didn't merge the fucking pull request. That's why it was assuming it was not implemented. I need to merge this. And as soon as I merge this part of code, which was recognizing which platform the developer is running the code, and then if should install Rust or not, because pop CLI will require Rust. So we need to first install Rust. Let me just, I already tested this before, but I let to do this while live, because you can see Peter Label was the developer who opened the pull request, and now we close it, the pull request. And now we must come here and pull it. Yeah. So this shouldn't be modified. Let me fix now what the mess I just did. Yeah. Oh, let's pull. I forgot to pull the most recent change. And now again, slash to pull the most recent one. So the code is done for, it's not done for this. This is a whole mess, right? Because this should be the 1.2. Let me see if this is 1.2. It's mentioned. It's assuming the pop story is already created. No, this is not working. Let's go back to story 2. Where is the agent? Here. Let's clear his context and say open the PO, not actually the Scrum Master. Here we'll say story checklist on to be sure it's following. From here, not yeah, let's go. All right, almost an hour just to prepare the environment for the dev to pull this context within the container and execute it. But it's very when you do something for the first time, it's hard, right? But if we keep repeating, you will get better at it, on it. And I will just keep repeating. And what I am taking time now, I expect to don't take that much in the future, to polish this approach, to polish this method, and be able to really think of features, think of new implementations on my project, and paste this plan on GitHub and have the developer pulling it. Let's see. Are you guys with me? Is there someone here? I see the numbers here, but I'm not sure if it's because Twitter is now fixed this bug, right? Of numbers that just increase and don't decrease. I see the numbers decreasing, and I want to know if there is someone here yet. Okay. It did the revision. Let's see, a lot of needs to implement. That was exactly what I expected in the first time. So everything, all the course correction we did in the last 20 minutes, it wasn't required because I just forgot to pull the changes. To accept the pull request. I should have done that during the afternoon, but I thought I will accept this pull request during live just to show that the developer opened the pull request and end up forgetting it. Sorry, guys. And now, so have the recent changes, have the plan, and we asked first to propose a plan, and it did wrong because we didn't merge the code, and now we are asking him to fix the course, so look for the things that are already implemented, and it now found a lot of things that shouldn't be here, which is good. We see that the system is working. It found our errors. Story pass. Critical issues, massive duplication, more than 300 lines that are largely duplicated, over specifications, overly detailed, major plumber, like specification section pointers, but with duplicated content, goal context clarity. Yeah, a lot of problems. Let's see what is the, here it summaries why the need is revision, remove, okay, story one. Story validation needs revision. Poor self, remove duplication, focus removed clarity. So now it's asking me, should I create a new stuff because this is just shit? Yeah, let's say yes. Create a revised story. Let's see. So what took us 1 hour could take 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because 30 minutes, because I'm here over explaining a lot of things, because then these live streams for me, I'm trying to refine my understanding of things, my explanation of things, and sharing this. So plus the 20 minutes of doing something that should have been done because we forgot to merge. So I would say 30 minutes to specify the prompt and get the context aligned, the context prepared for this developer to execute, right? So in the end, it's not a lot of time, the end is if the process is ready, but we are here discovering the process. So it removed, let's see. I like to read what it did. Create optional styling with platform detection integration. Yeah, agora now we are seeing it's importing what it was previously done. Import platform utilities, implement multi-strategy, implement precompiled binary. configure to path, git.install to directory, yes. Current session, task implement cargo install, create pop CLI manager, check installation, skip confirm, yes. This skip confirm is very important because it was required to, when we run the network, it asks the user, do you want this, do you want to run this network? Why? I just typed the command. So I needed this platform detection to install Rust. Yeah, it's the story points, right? What was previously done that I told you before that should be there, and I was where is that? And it's because every new story that is created, we updated this context, and the next agent have access to what was recent done, you know. Okay, wait, platform support matrix. Linux, Mac, Windows, install to git.directory, use chain. Wait, precompiled by no Rust needed. Yeah, here's when we download the precompiled from pop. Yeah, let's assume, yeah. Let's see if the installation is as, yeah, it's draft. You see that now it is still a draft, but I like to just check if it updated. Unit test, yes. So what I do now is I basically change this manually from draft to approved, and then we send this to the repo. Wait, this tree shouldn't go. Yeah, this one shouldn't go. What's wrong here? Maybe git restart because it doesn't recognize the file. Yeah. New file, this file shouldn't exist. Now again. I like to leave a manually just to track this later. Git push, right, develop. So now we are in the branch in the container where the developer is running. So let's give git pull. Oh, here I don't have my alias. Let's see if this story is here. So there is a new story here. And we are going to run cloud C and ask it to start the dev. All right. It should now run through the stories. Like here, there is the commands from the dev, and then we go to develop story. And it should like look at the stories and see that there is one story that is ready to be developed, which is this one that we created now that is approved, I should not drink this. No, let's drink some water. Oh, I forgot to pass the dangerous run everything, because that's why we are using a container, to allow him to do everything. I see the numbers changing, people coming, people going, but no one says anything in the comments. So that's life. You know, it started to implement now. Click create pop CLI installer with multi-strategy, because this is the story it recognized. We have the other two, which is, wait, yeah, approved, approved, and approved. Now it will ask us to change all the files it needs to change. But wait, I don't want to keep saying yes to all of this. We can just come here and pass this. That's why I'm running inside a container. You know, do everything you need to do, my friend. Yeah, develop story. Why these stories were changed to approve, approve. Yeah, done. But this one shouldn't be approved, shouldn't be done, I guess. Oh yeah. We forgot to ask the QA to update this. So in the previous PR, I just accepted. It was because usually this story was in the middle, and then I realized wasn't different. It was different from what I expected, and started to run the checks manually. And then I saw, okay, now it's working, and I merged the PR. But I created a process where the QA should do that. So the QA would check and see if it was everything working, and then it would update these tasks. Let's update here. Because we did his job. Yeah. And it would update this because it was done, and change this to done. Yeah. Okay, you can see now this process will take way longer than the previously ones, because now the developer is implementing, you know. So all of this was to prepare him to implement, and now he implements. So we took an hour, because as I said, I'm here talking and doing, and that's why I made a huge mistake that cost around 20 minutes. But if you are just doing that, focused and doing that and creating the requirements, then go to the dev and the dev implements, you see that in less than an hour, you implement a whole epic of the project. And you could argue, I can do that on vibe coding. Yeah, you can do that on vibe coding, but on the long term, you lose context from your architecture. You don't know how things are going and why and how. And here we still know everything, how this is it's being done, because I will review this pull request. So I hope you guys got the idea here. Let me know in the comments if someone is still there, what you guys think of it. I'm thinking about ending this live stream, because I showed how I go from the idea to prompt my developer in the container to run the idea. So you guys see that here in this container. The developer is running, and I didn't paste the to-do list here. I was just pulling from GitHub, and all the other process was being done in another GitHub account. So here I'm using this account that I think I showed in the pull request here, right? The Birulebre. This is the developer account. So everything that is running on this container is coming from that account. And I'm trying to create this solo developer who can pull GitHub issues and write the code. Hope this is somehow useful for you guys. I see a lot of people, 14 viewers here, fluctuating between 10 and 14. So this probably is useful for you guys. And this method needs to be polished, but I'm here to share my intentions, my idea of creating a workflow where we can have developers, agent developer independent, not on the developer, LLM developer that needs to keep interacting in receiving inputs and trying again and trying again, and in the end creating a whole mess, but a very structured agent that works as a coworker that literally opens useful pull requests to my project, and then I review and approve. I hope this is useful for you guys. Let's wait a bit more to see if it finishes for us to run. You'll see it is creating the tests because, no, actually exactly, it's creating the tests because my code base instruction says that for every new feature, it must create tests, and all the past tests should run. And you guys see that I don't even need to input this again, because when you are vibe coding, you need to keep repeating, hey, run tests, create documentation. So each agent has a checklist, right? So here again, checklists. Each agent has its own checklist, and it needs to run its own checklist before doing things, and specifying everything. Look, it's running, trying to run the build because I specified run the build, run the, simulate everything that it's required to work. And I think it's enough for me, guys. Hope you guys have a good night. And I will hope that this agent will fix. Oh, look at what we just reached. The limit, it will reset in a few minutes. That's so fun. That happened in the last minute. We need to wait because my subscription is the cheapest one, so we need to wait. And this is just fun. I consumed a lot of tokens specifying the task. And of course, I already did that the whole day. So in the end, if you are doing quickly and properly, will not consume all your tokens. But this is the third story for the day. So the developer, the Birulebre, already worked a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good night, and see you soon. Bye-bye.